Good evening, Dr. Benton. This is Dee Cross. This is my lab 3, and my assistant Julie is holding the camera. She's going to scan here quickly and show you that there's nothing on the table or around anywhere that I can use. And here are the pictures that I'm going to use. There's nothing on the backs of these. It's just the pictures. And here is your lab sheet. There's nothing written on the backs of any of these. And all you're going to see is my hands. So this is kind of what my hands look like. I'm going to be in and out of the picture. So we're going to start with the skin. So this one's first. I'm just going to work my way down this line. So the basement membrane. The basement membrane is located between the epidermis and the dermis, and it is basically the connective tissue that connects these two layers of skin together. The blood vessels, you can see them that run through here, the top part of the dermis and down through here. So the blue is a vein, red is an artery. Dermis, we talked about it briefly. It is the second layer of skin. So from here to here would be the dermis. And this is where all the good stuff's at. All the glands, all the pressure points, sebaceous glands, sweat glands, hair follicles, they're all in the dermis. Keratinocytes are in the epidermis. They're keratin cells, and they are basically found in the second and third layers of the epidermis. The hypodermis is here. It's the bottom layer. It's really adipose tissue. It's actually not a layer of skin. It's connective tissue that really connects. It's an anchoring point for the skin to our underlying structures. Melanocytes, they're melon cells. They're also in the second and third layers of our epidermis, and they create the melanin, which determines the colors of our skin. The papillary layer is the first, basically 20% or 1/5 of the dermis, and this is it's a fibrous connective tissue, and once again it houses or has most of the veins and arteries through it. The rectiliar layer is the rest of the dermis. It is a looser connective tissue. The tissues are more free here with the cells because of the different glands and stuff that are found in the dermis. Let's see, okay, so the next 5 things are the layers of the epidermis. So I'm going to kind of label these so I can keep them straight in my head. So this is C, L, G, S, B. So to do them in the order you have on the paper, you have listed first the stratum basale. That's this layer right here. This is where all the mitosis happens of all the squamous cells that make up the dermis. That make up the epithelia, sorry. So that's the basal. The corneum is right here. This is the top layer. These are the squamous cells. These are the ones we slough off every day. It's the top layer of skin. The next is the lucidum. Actually, this right here, lucidum stands for clear, and this is only found on our tough skin. So this layer of skin is only on the soles of our bottoms of our feet and on our hands. The sponosium, it's this biggest layer here, and this is all a bunch of cells that are really full of nutrients. They're big, so the mitosis happens in the basal layer. It pushes it up into the sponosium layer, and you can see, as they get pushed higher up, they become less and less. Once they get to the granosium layer here, they're pretty much dry, and then they're pushed further up into the top to be sloughed off. So that's all for the skin. Now we're going to go to compact bone. As you can see, these are blood vessels here. And then I'm going to go over to this real quick. This is an osteon. So if you can imagine this right here, pulled out, brought over here and pulled. So this is an osteon, and the central canal is where the blood vessels run through. So here we have a vein, an artery, and then here this yellow is the nerve. So that's the blood vessels. The canaculi, that's these little bitty canals that actually connect the osteocytes. They're little bitty tiny capillaries, and they actually carry in nutrients and carry waste away. Central canal, we already talked about that. It's this right here, or this right here is the central canal. That's where the main artery of the osteon runs. Circumferential laminae, it's these laminae that go around the circumference of the outside of the compact bone. Concentric laminae, that's the little circles that's actually in the osteon. The leucanae is a little, it's actually where the osteocyte is housed. So it's these little caverns. So if you look at the top here, you can see these little dots, and then top of the osteum, that's actually leucanae. Down in there is where osteocytes hang out. I showed you the nerve. It's right here. Runs in the central canal. This is an osteocyte itself. This little jagged looking cell here is an osteocyte. This is an osteon. This is an osteon. And the peritoneum is right here. It's the outer layer of the compact bone, and this peritoneum is a very tough fibrous tissue that goes all the way around the outside of the bone. It encases it. It's very fibrous. It's so fibrous that it's actually what the tendons connect to. So that's all of that. And last but not least, we're going to use the skeleton, and I'm going to use my body landmarks for this one. So the first is the cervical vertebrae. It's the first 7 vertebrae in the neck. So it's actually the first 7 vertebrae that have no ribs attached. Is the cervical vertebrae. The diaphragm, I'll show you on me, it's located up under my ribs. It's actually attached to the sternum in the front, to my spine in the back, and along my rib cage. It's a large muscle, and it's used for respiration. So to breathe in, the muscle pulls down. To exhale, the muscle pushes up. The external abdominal oblique, again, we'll use me. It's the large, most superficial abdominal muscle. That's why it's called external abdominal. Oblique means the side. We're going to go back to here for, I'm going to hold this. Oh, misters. So this is the frontal bone. You can see the suture in the top. So it's actually your forehead is the frontal bone. The hyoid, go back to me. The hyoid is located right here. You can actually palpate the hyoid. It's the only bone in the body that's not attached to another bone. I've seen many of these broken autopsies. Lumbar vertebrae. It's the lower 5 vertebrae after the ribs. And this is the vertebrae that give most people their back problems. The mandible. It's this bone right here. Your bottom teeth are connected to your mandible. The maxilla is the top bone. It's where your teeth are attached. Your upper teeth are attached. That's the maxilla. The nasal bone is this right here. That's all we have, a bone of our nose. Everything else is cartilage. Occipital bone. It's in the back, the very back of the skull. The parietal bone, we actually have 2 of those, one on each side. So this would be a left parietal. This is the right parietal. The rectus abdominis muscle, we'll go back to me for that. That is the center muscle, and it actually lays under the external oblique. So if you were to strip the external oblique away, you would see the rectus abdominis down the center of the abdominal area. The sacrum. Oh, his arm fell off. Sacrum is at the end of the lumbar. You actually have 5. It looks like one big vertebrae, but it's actually 5, and that makes up the sacrum. And then the coccyx, there's actually 4 little bones that fuse together at the end. So if you hear somebody say they broke their tailbone, this is usually what they broke. This sphenoid bone, it's really kind of an interesting bone. You can see it on the side here. I kind of colored it pink, or tried to color it pink. And if you take his head off, you can see that it actually runs inside, and then of course it's on the outside as well. And if you were to pull that bone out and look at it, it looks like a bat. And right there is where the pituitary gland is suspended and hangs out. The sternocleidomastoid, back to me. It's this muscle right here. It's this huge, big muscle right here. This is the sternocleidomastoid. The sternum is right here. This bottom tip is actually xiphoid process, and then this is the sternum. The temporal bone, right here. And it's got a little piece of the bone that comes off that actually attaches to the zygmatic bone. But we're not there yet. Thoracic vertebrae. It's the 12 vertebrae in the center of our back. It's the thoracic area, and it has all the ribs attached. So there's 12 ribs, 12 thoracic vertebrae. The trapezius muscle, it's this muscle right here. This big muscle right here is the trap muscle. And last but not least is the zygmatic bone. And I just lost where that, oh, I know where it's at. We just talked about it. It's your cheekbone. So it's right here, and it actually, there's a process that goes back to the zygmatic bone, and it actually attaches to the temporal bone here. So I believe I got everything. Thank you.